John William Brodie-Innes was a British writer and lawyer, born in 1848 at Down in Kent, the son of Reverend John Brodie-Innes, close friend of Charles Darwin. He studied at St. John's College, Cambridge, and received a bachelor degree in mathematics in 1872. In 1879, he married Frances Ansley Voysey. In 1887, he moved to Edinburgh, and in 1888 was admitted to the Scottish Faculty of Advocates. He joined both the Scottish Lodge of the Theosophical Society and the Temple of the Golden Dawn. In 1892, he became the Chancellor of the Diocese of Argyll. In 1893, he was one of the principal co-founders of the Amen-Ra Golden Dawn Temple at Edinburgh. The temple would close by 1901 following infighting resulting from Brodie-Innes' domineering attitude. He wrote books on law, such as his Comparative Principles of the Laws of England and Scotland, and from 1908 he wrote 4 novels dealing with the supernatural. In 1891 he would even pen Scottish Witchcraft Trials, in a way dealing with both subjects. He died in 1923. His 1908 Morag the Seal is the first of his supernatural novels, and it shows. The story begins with the arrival of Ralph Kingsburgh in Scotland in order to assist Sir John Bradley, a local client. Bradley seems obsessed with proving the legitimacy of his family's claim to the land as well as to the old castle of the Camerons of Artnarig, as a result not only of court foreclosure but of direct blood kinship and in fact supposed inheritance rights that were simply neglected. The estate had originally passed onto Sir John's father, the elder Sir John, upon non-repayment of a loan taken out by the last Cameron to hold the estate. Bradley's initial obsession with proving his descent from the Camerons is at first a mystery to the narrator, the aforementioned Ralph Kingsburgh, but it then transpires it is all related to the legend of Morag the Seal woman. She is thought to be a half-woman, half-seal possessing magical powers, and is linked to a Morag Cameron that was said to be a witch and who had died 100 years ago. In fact, people do see her about, and most people that converse with her have a habit of dying, which is chalked up to the cruelty of the half-woman, half-seal. Actually, when Kingsburgh arrives, he hears people talking about burying Morag as part of some exorcism ritual, following the drowning of a youth known to have conversed with her. Soon, Ralph comes face to face with this Morag, and the two share a strange romance, where Morag is never seen by anyone else and vanishes instantly when someone approaches. This is compounded by the fact that the real Morag Cameron, heiress of the Cameron family, is living with her mother and sisters in a town many miles distant. This may seem like a promising premise, but sadly, the author utterly smothers it before it has a chance to even begin. Sure, the initial scene of Ralph hearing the noises of a carpenter hammering together a coffin on his arrival, being told that Morag is to be buried, and that the coffin is to be made by a carpenter long dead, show promise. But then the entire rest of the novel is devoted to 2 things. Ralph and the local doctor talking about the girl Ralph sees and how she can't be Morag, conjuring up all sorts of theories about hypnotism and dream/thought projection, and to Ralph and the doctor talking about papers proving/disproving the Bradley claim, bank books, loans, etc. Worse, most of the novel is spent doing one of these 2 things either at Sir John's castle or at the doctor's house. What is even worse is the utter unbridled density of the main character. When a man who knows certain information is abducted and found in an induced coma in Sir John's castle, Ralph buys Sir John's excuses blaming his brother, and then when the doctor tells him it is positively certain that this is an artificially induced form of sleep sickness, and mentions all the people who have suffered from it and died after having dealings with the Bradleys, The narrator is still completely willing to vouch for Sir John's character and goes on and on about how great a person he is. This becomes an utter absurdity at one point, especially since the main character is supposed to be a lawyer. After several more meetings with Morag, and discovering the secret of the local gypsy glen and how one should enter it, thanks to the help of Far Simpson, the self-claimed gypsy king, Ralph is suddenly pricked, and then starts feeling inexplicable bouts of lethargy and sleepiness. Exactly like all the people who were previously affected by the sleeping sickness, which he knows about because he was told at length by the doctor. Yet he still has not one iota of an idea what may have happened to him until he actually falls into a waking coma. It takes almost as long for him to realize the obvious fact that the supposed loan to the last Cameron to hold the castle was never paid out. There was no proof this sum had ever been withdrawn or deposited, and it was specifically brought up during the proceedings to strip the Camerons of their lands, but the narrator hand-waves it away and proceeds to ignore it, and he never even flinches when he finds documents proving the Bradleys are not tied by blood to the Camerons at all, contrary to Sir John's claims, Ralph going on and on still about how secure and legitimate their claim is either way. Even when he finds the man who was first infected with the sleeping sickness virus and manages to restore him to consciousness briefly, he still manages to somehow ignore his immediate and obvious screams of fraud and forgery. In the end, Ralph is taken into the castle once paralyzed, but is saved by the arrival of the real, blind Morag and her family due to Morag having dreams and premonitions. Sir John dies of the sleeping sickness off-screen, and his brother manages to run away to the Congo, so that the principal antagonists are never even confronted. Morag and Ralph end up marrying, and the author couldn't really leave well enough alone and has Morag drop the news that the doctor thinks her blindness can be healed, and then has it already be taken care of in the epilogue. All supernatural events in the novel are down to Morag projecting herself in her dreams to people, allowing her to meet Ralph in the first place. And yet there are several points that are never really explained. The much sought-after documents proving the Bradleys' claims of blood relation to the Camerons false are revealed to Ralph by Morag one day when she shows him their hiding place. But why he could not take them the first time he got hold of them, and had to put them back in order to get them later, I don't know. And then at the outset, when meeting Morag for the first time, Ralph meets her in the old family house that the doctor says burnt down 3 years ago. Yet Ralph unmistakably visits it and sees the things inside. At no other instance was Morag's projection able to refashion an entire building out of nowhere. Every other time their meetings happened in real surroundings. The novel's supernatural element is overall very slim, and the detection aspect is slow and cumbersome, with the same details repeated ad nauseum. What little weird atmosphere there is in the beginning is squandered by boring conversations and the same 2 sets resorted to over and over again. It was quite disappointing for me, after having wanted to read this one for a couple of years now. It certainly did not make me very anxious to check out the author's other works.